my gosh. But no, I'm so excited to talk with you. We do need to catch up. And there is just so much that I feel like I've seen you grow so much too. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you of like how far you've come. And you're just like, I don't know, so inspiring, honestly. You really are. It's just like amazing what you've done. But in today's episode, I'm so excited to share because we're going to be talking all about systems and client experience and streamlining the back end of your business with someone who has been a part of my journey for so long, from like the very beginning, basically. Yeah. I am chatting with Taylor Hedden, right?
Hedden, yes. Okay. You pronounce it right. Most people say Hedden, which I don't know why.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I tried to practice and I still kind of like stuttered a little bit from your podcast. I was like, I got to make sure I get this right. Hedden. Perfect. Okay. She is the founder of Chanel & Lee, a Dubsado certified specialist, business consultant, all around systems queen. She has a podcast. Like what am I missing? Like she does it all. She was actually my VA in the early days of my business, and to see what she's built since then has been so inspiring. So I'm so glad that you're here with me and we can chat all about it.
Thank you. And also same. I mean, it's crazy because when you first hired me, I was brand new, but you were also just starting your business and coming out of school, and you've grown so much in your own brand and then your podcast. And I'm just also so excited for you. And you look gorgeous. Your skin's glowing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's the lighting. I'm like, I had to get the lighting right. Right. But no, can you kind of like just take us back to the beginning? I know you have a podcast, and if you haven't already, guys, go listen to it because she has like the most amazing like story to share. But I kind of just want to start with like, how did you start Chanel & Lee, and what made you transition from being a VA to being like a business consultant?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, man, the story could start far back, but I think where it really starts is after college, which I went to school for fine arts, and that's where my background is in photography. I ran a pretty successful photography business while I was in school, and I shot weddings for a period, which was not for me. I mostly shot portraits, families, and then really got into the fine art world when I was in college and studying art. After a kind of crazy life turn of events, I was actually married young, went through a divorce, ended up dropping out of college, closing down my photography business, and kind of just hitting this dead end in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in a really weird position where I thought I had envisioned exactly how my career was going to look in this marriage, and I was going to go to college, and I was going to move to New York and go to school there. And it all fell and crumbled to the ground. And I found myself working at a strip club as a bartender, which of course is such an interesting story for people to hear. Ended up meeting my now husband there, and I got pregnant within a month or two of meeting him, which was a huge shock because I was 21. Well, at the time I was 22 when I got pregnant, fresh off of a divorce, about a year after that, and really just partying, not having any plan whatsoever of anything. I was just, coasting essentially. Really quickly, I realized, okay, I need to get a job outside of the bartending world because I'm pregnant. I ended up working at an SEO agency, and I had pulled a lot of the marketing experience that I had with my photography business. Also, I had worked at a nonprofit in communications during college as well. And so I was like, okay, this is great. It's an office job. I'll work here, get out of the bartending life. It was paying shit money. I was working with 9 men. I was the only woman, and I was pregnant. So it was just,
oh my gosh,
the most,
I cannot even imagine.
Yeah, annoying environment to be in at the time. And really quickly, that was about 2018, December when I got that job. And by February, I was like, this can't be it. Not even just the SEO agency, but working in that environment, I was like, I cannot do this. And the impending birth of my son also had me thinking, okay, I really want to stay home. I don't want to take him to daycare. I can't imagine commuting, sitting in an office for 8 hours while my son is somewhere else. So I went onto a Facebook group. This was about February, March of 2019, right before COVID, ironically.
Wow. Yep.
And I was in a couple of photography communities that I had been a part of when I was in that space. And I just posted a post and said, hey, anyone looking for some support? I had no website. I had no clients. I had no really concept of what they needed. I just said, here's all the things I can do. I used to run a photography business. Does anyone want to pay me to help them? from that post, I secured 2 clients that month. And I mean, nothing crazy. I think I was charging them $15 an hour, maybe less.
Yeah, but
And
that's still
just
so good from like a Facebook post with like no experience, like nothing. Oh my gosh, it's just inspiring hearing stuff like that because you're just like, you just got to go for it. You can't just sit around waiting for like the website to come, your photography skills to get better, your experience to get better. You just have to go for it. So that is really, really good.
Yeah, you just have to trust yourself. And I mean, honestly, those women trusted me.
Yeah.
I had nothing to show for it. They were really just trusting that I knew what I was doing. And I mean, I just took on whatever they could give me. So that started snowballing. And by the summertime, I'd already had 5-10 clients under my belt, part-time to full-time hours. I was still working at the agency and I was 8 months pregnant. Also figuring out my relationship with my partner at the time, who I barely knew, moving in together. I mean, it was just a crazy time of life. And I told him, okay, I'm about to match my income, which wasn't much, but I'm about to match my income at the agency with these clients. If I can keep this match for a couple months, I'm leaving the job. And he was like, what? Because we have 2 kids and you're going to leave your job for this and at the time, you remember, that wasn't a really big, this was before COVID, before remote work. This wasn't even really when virtual assistants were popping. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this. So by October 2019, my son was 2 months old. I quit the agency job and took my VA business full time. And that scaled to 6 figures within 9 months, which was crazy because I was a brand new mom. I had no idea. I was just bootstrapping everything. No lie. I don't even think I had a website for the first year.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't even remember you having a website during that time either. I'm like, I don't remember. It was all just through like word of mouth, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even have social media. I didn't have I had it from my own personal page and I would kind of find people through that, but I had no online presence at all. Yeah, it was strictly word of mouth.
So crazy because I feel like that doesn't normally happen, but I like that there's different paths for everyone.
Yeah.
And I was going to say our timelines are really, really similar too, because that's around the time to the end of 2019 was when I went full time too during that time. And of course, 2020 was kind of crazy, but I also ended up making 6 figures that year, which was wild in itself. So our timelines are just so eerily similar and it's just crazy to talk about, but okay, keep going. I'm like, I'm like strapped in. I'm like, please.
Well, I mean, that goes to show too, in that time frame, I think, granted, everyone has a different situation during COVID. I think a lot of people were scared and the other half of us were like, let's fucking go. What can I do next? And thankfully for me at that time, I boomed because although my industry was mostly photographers and event-based clients, a lot of them being the strappy entrepreneurs they all started new businesses, whether it was, okay, I'm going to start a copywriting business or a coaching business, or I'm going to pivot. And so they needed me to help them get these new businesses going. And they were taking the investments from their photography or events and putting it into someone like me who could help them get new businesses set up until events open back up. So that was a huge year for me where I originally thought, okay, I'm going to tank. I'm going to have to figure out what to do, like many other people had to do at that time. And it was quite the opposite. And that's really when Dubsado came into the picture. 2019, I had, really the first client that I had that ever hired me, she was using a platform called Sprout Social.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that one.
Yes, I have.
It used to be pretty popular.
Through every CRM imaginable. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a photography CRM. She was in there. And Dubsado, I think at the time, I had never heard of it. I think they were about 2 or 3 years, very early in their, software. And she said, I found this system called Dubsado and she was paying me. I was working for her part-time. She said, I want you to just learn it and set it up and then we'll start using it in the business. Because I was doing all of her admin, client management. So I did what I did. I went into Dubsado. I learned it. I set it up for her. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I really like this. So then I said, I'm going to use this for my VA business, set it up for my VA business. And then I just started showing it to all my clients. And I was like, hey, I found this software. My client's using it. She's a photographer. Let's explore this. So what started as me kind of making a suggestion for my virtual assistant clients then turned into them all telling their friends, hey, my virtual assistant set me up in the system. My virtual assistant set me up in the system. So then I had people coming to me just saying, I just want you to do Dubsado. I don't need an assistant. I just need someone to set this up. And my first ever setup was $150. which is funny because I was charging hourly. It was, like 6 to 8 hours of work. I was charging
Yes.
like $25.
Yeah.
The growth is real. And that took off. The first round of certified specialists, which is Dubsado's vetted program for third-party vendors like myself, that launched in 2021. So I was the first round of certified specialists. By that time, I had already really started leaning into Dubsado. I realized that this was something I really enjoyed and I was really good at. And although I was good at a lot of the other virtual assistant stuff, this just made sense. And I saw a need. I saw that there wasn't a lot of people who were able to do what I was doing at that time. And I saw a lot of creatives who felt super overwhelmed. And there was just this big hole in the industry. And I was like, I can fill that.
Yes.
And then it started snowballing where it wasn't just photographers, then it was coaches, and then it was agencies. And I mean, now I've worked with over 45 different industries, hundreds and hundreds of different businesses at all different levels. And it's still the same need. People that run businesses really well, they need organization and they need something to support them with whatever their goals look like. And so now that's primarily my signature offer. And then in the last year and a half, too, is when coaching and consulting have really come in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Your story is just so cool. I love how people get started in business. That's like one of my favorite things to hear. I love podcasts about it. I love books about it. Like, because you would see at the beginning of your story where it's just kind of like you're just like going through it. You just got divorced. You're not going to school anymore. Your dream was to move to New York. And that was like, it almost seems like that part of your life was just kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? Like you could have given up then, but then you were
1000%.
just like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to believe in myself. I know that I can do this. I'm just going to start with a Facebook post. And now here you are, just like the most amazing person ever. Like you're a mom, like you're a business owner, you're, I don't know, you're just like so inspiring. And I know I'm going to say that like 1,000 times, but it is so true. And I just love women in business, especially moms. I do not know how you guys do it. It is actually insane. And I love hearing from your perspective, but okay, so I want to get into like the systems and the client experience of it all.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, what do you think makes an amazing client experience, especially for like service-based businesses like photographers? Like, what do you think truly makes an amazing experience?
Yeah, I think what makes the most in a really great client experience, and yes, service-based, but really any industry, it's communication, right? It's all about what you're discussing, when you're discussing it, and how you're discussing the details. And it really is in the details. And that's something that's really cool because that doesn't mean you have to automate. That doesn't mean you need every system. It's really looking at how are we communicating. And especially for photographers, what makes that client experience is when your clients aren't having to search for answers. They feel secure, they feel heard, they feel seen, they feel taken care of, knowing that the ball's in your court. And you've given them everything they need information wise to make sure they're going to have a good experience and also to make sure you can do your job well. So I think communication is really at the core of experience. And I mean, you compare it to, let's say, going to a really nice hotel or a really nice restaurant. There's details in the communication at every step, right? Whether it's in your booking experience, whether it's in follow-up communication or reminders, or once you get there, them going through, can I tell you about the specials and the wine list? Same thing for photographers, right? Everything from what's on your digital, kind of real estate to once they get into your funnel or your CRM, once they book you, and even after you've delivered the service, communication is still going to be at the core of all of that, which I think people kind of underestimate, right? Especially when they come to me for Dubsado, they're like, oh, well, I need all these things. I'm like, let's look at how you're communicating. Like how do your emails sound? What's in your emails first? And then we can start to automate what's really important to take off your plate.
Yeah, I feel like I always see photographers, whether it's like in Facebook groups, Reddit, like all of these threads where they're almost like annoyed when people ask questions. And I'm always saying like, well, did you communicate this? Like, was it in like a line of your contract that they maybe like read, but just kind of like oversaw? Because they also have to book like for weddings, especially like they have to book a lot of vendors. And so they're reading through a million contracts. The the fact that they would remember a small line in your contract, like that's
Yep.
not communication. That's just kind of like the contract is the contract. But yeah, I always see people just get annoyed by questions. And I'm like,
Yes.
you should be annoyed at yourself because they should already know this.
Yeah. Well, and there's communication overwhelm. A lot of clients come to me and they're like, I'm sharing this and I'm sharing this and I'm doing this here. And I'm like, if I were your client, I wouldn't read any of that because that is so overwhelming. And your email is 18 paragraphs long and you're relying on this 25-page welcome guide, not calling anyone out, but it's like, let's figure out also what you need to communicate when, because there's certain things you don't need to tell them at the very, very beginning in this huge, information dump, especially for wedding clients, which I had my own wedding last year. And I mean, I experienced that with so many people. I'm like, this is too much. Okay. Coming from the systems person, let's get it together.
You're like sending them tips. Oh my gosh. No, that's amazing. Yeah. You can definitely breadcrumb those types of things. And I would say if you're getting questions frequently asked, I think that's when you should look at your experience and be like, where am I missing? Why am I why are my clients always asking me this? So that is really good. And what do you think are one or two things that photographers overlook when it comes to the back end of their business?
Yeah. So overlooking, I would say in the booking or selling phase, you could say, I think, again, too much information or not enough. There really is a sweet spot with proposals and what you're sharing there. And it really is this beautiful kind of dance between a sales call and a proposal. And I know not everyone kind of has that method, but I really think there's a lot of value to that. And so I think photographers kind of miss the importance of the booking process. They're really eager to book the client and they're like, oh, I've got all this amazing stuff like this welcome gift and I'm going to do this in this engagement session, which makes sense because that's where photographers thrive. But in the selling, we really have to make sure what are we communicating and how and when are we doing that in the selling process to get to that proposal where the buying is actually very easy for them. And secondly, too, I often see photographers completely ignore an offboarding process. It's very much like I text them the next day and then I send a gallery and there's really no expectations or what to expect. Even, hey, when are they going to get the gallery? I see so many photographers, their clients are knocking on the door like, hey, I'm not sure when my photos are delivered. Why didn't you tell them that? Yeah. Also, even just following up after photos are delivered. I mean, as simple as a happy anniversary, which can be automated, or how to buy an album or leave a review. That is so overlooked. But I also think as creatives, once the day is over and you're editing, you're like, there's too much to do at that point. And then you have other clients you're kind of moving on to. Yeah. So automating the offboarding, I think, is so important. So that way it's not a burden on you.
Yeah, I think automating. I always say this too. I'm like, it would make your life so much easier than you having to think, okay, have I sent this client this thing? Have I sent this client this thing? Especially if you're doing a lot of sessions or a lot of weddings throughout the year. You wouldn't be getting the same experience for each client if you weren't automating those things in your business, whether it's just simply just the offloading that could be simply automated and you would never have to think about it. It would just automatically send for your clients. And you could upsell too with the albums and everything else. So you can continue selling even after they've already, paid you. So I think that is really, really good. And how do you think systems can actually make the client experience a little bit more personal and less robotic? Because I think that's something that that's why a lot of people don't automate, is because they feel like they'll sound robotic and it's not them. But I would like to know what your experience is like with that.
Yeah. I always say, look, it's 2025. Every system out there has personalization. You can pull in the client's name. You can pull in the information. You can customize it per the client. So that, I think the personalization, people are more so scared because they think they are the personalization, which you are. It's your brand. But again, it's how you're communicating. So if your email says, hello, Taylor Hedden, you are booked. Of course, that's going to sound robotic. Let's add flair to your copy. Let's make sure your emails reflect the voice. Let's also be intentional about where we need to personalize, because that's also, I think, kind of a misconception, is everything needs to be personalized. And that's just really not true. I think there's a couple of key points in the process that need to be. For example, the proposal, definitely. I recommend all my clients, put a personal video, write a personal message, make that part personal, put their actual goals, or maybe it's their wedding vibe and you're pulling in images that match that. But then every single email after that doesn't need to be personalized, because you've kind of already done that and really showed them that you've been listening, you've personalized this experience. And then it's about that communication. and making sure whatever you are automating, does it match that brand tone? Does it match your vibe? Is it really communicating what you need? And then again, certain key parts of the process that you might need to go in then and personalize. Maybe it's sending a mood board, or maybe the day after email, you want to put in something special that happened. Like, oh my gosh, I really love that moment when your aunt came on stage and gave that speech off the cuff. That's special because, again, it's showing that you just are really taking the time to actively make the experience about them. But that can be more impactful when it's intentional and few and far in between than trying to make the burden on you of making every single interaction extremely customized. Because to be honest, your clients probably aren't really paying that much attention to every interaction anyways.
Yeah. And I think you're right about the brand tone. Like, does it sound like you're actually speaking to them in your own tone? Because like you said, of course, like if they get an email that's like, oh, hello, you are booked now, and it sounds robotic, then yeah, it's going to be robotic. But of course, you can add your own flair. You can kind of like customize it to the way you speak. And I think that's really important too, because they're also going to be interacting with you in person, especially if you're service-based. And so I definitely think like you should be matching your tone to your brand and making sure that every email is, like you said, it doesn't have to be personalized. Every email does not need to be personalized. You could do like the first email personalized, and then everything else honestly is kind of like you can just automate everything else. So I'm like, yes, preach. That's exactly what people need to hear.
Yeah, when I first started really offering my signature Dubsado setup, I didn't have copywriting like included. It was an add-on. And I quickly realized after working with, a couple dozen clients that were providing their own emails, I was like, this is so important. This is like half of my job, is figuring out how to communicate the process with the client. And so now obviously it's included. So if you don't have emails you already have or want to use, I write them because that is communicating the process. But it's also, like you said, that's what keeps the system, or the automation, if you will, feeling on brand, is really down to copy and communication and messaging.
I want to ask you, can you share like a few tips on how to just kind of like how photographers can elevate their workflow and their touch points through like the onboarding and offboarding automation emails, or through anything else? Yeah. It doesn't even have to be emails. It could just be like just elevating their experience.
Yeah, I would say anytime you're sending a touch point, what's the purpose of the touch point is what I'm always asking. Because, a lot of clients come to me and they're like, I need a touch point 6 months before and 3 months before and this one and this one. And I'm like, what's the purpose of it? If there's an action for the client to take, obviously that's important, like filling out a questionnaire or booking a session, something like that. If it's just a touch point where you want to say, I want them to feel like I'm keeping in touch, or that I'm here, or I just want them to feel like, I'm not forgetting about them. Let's give them something of value in the email. Not to say you can't just check in. I think that's lovely, especially if it's more personal, like a text or something like that. Like, hey, just thinking about you. Hope wedding planning's great. But we can kind of elevate that a little bit by giving them value of some sort. So for example, let's say leading up to their engagement session, people typically send the prep details. How about instead we're saying, hey, your engagement session's coming up. Why don't you guys plan a date night a couple nights before? Here's some ideas that aren't just dinner. Now you've kind of given them something that's like, oh, because I could go find engagement session prep or inspo on Pinterest, no problem. Yes, but now this person just gave me some really sweet things to think about, and also told me that, hey, you guys going on a date might help this engagement session because you're going to get some alone time. You're going to feel excited. You're probably going to talk about it. Maybe this is also like before the wedding, maybe 3-4 months out when things start getting crazy, instead of just saying, how's planning going? Maybe it's, hey, I'm sure planning's a little bit overwhelming. Here's a $50 gift card for dinner tonight on me. If you're not doing like a welcome gift or something, that's a really cool, intentional way to check in, but you're giving value. Obviously not everyone's, yes, obviously not everyone's going to have like funds for that. Ideas. But I think those things where you can think about how is the client going to feel seen and they're getting value, whether it's a resource, whether it's information, whether it's a really intentional gift, even a handwritten note, something like that. I think that's what clients remember because it's different and it's not what all of their other wedding vendors are doing. And I also say too, clients these days with how much information, they're not stupid. So a lot of the information we're giving them, they already have it. So we kind of have to do it a little bit differently. Not that you shouldn't be giving good info, and especially having stuff like on your website and blog about prep and information and how to rock this and how to do that. But let's think like just a little bit more unique, because that's what people are going to go, oh my God, like remember when Kim sent us that $50 gift card and we had the best date night because we were so stressed out? That was so special. And they're not going to forget that.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, that also, like, every time I think about my own client experience, I don't know why, but I always related back to like hotels and like the hospitality industry, just
Yep.
because it is like, if you go to a 5-star hotel, it is like unlike any other thing. They think of every single
Yes.
detail, and you're just like, they have touch points everywhere, but they're like subtle. And then some aren't as subtle. And it's just like, they'll upgrade your room. And it's just like, I always think back to like, okay, how can I do that? But like in my business, like, how can I make it a 5-star experience where not only are they going to leave me a review, but they're also going to tell their friends about the experience. And if you do touch points, like you said, that just elevate the experience, they're just going to remember that way more than you sending a wedding guide at the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very much
Mind
surprise and
blown.
delight. Yeah. And the hotel is one, the hospitality industry is something I compare all the time because we all experience that. And yeah, it's so true, right? Like if a hotel is sending you their freaking in-room service menu before you're booking, you're like, I don't need to see this right now.
I don't need this right now. Like,
but you show up and maybe there's, I just ate, I'm not even hungry. But maybe you show up and there's something special. Like at our wedding, we got married at Hotel Emma in San Antonio, which, oh my God, it's 5-star. It's one of the best hotels in the country, and it was fucking bomb. But when we got there, our wedding coordinator that worked for the hotel, she left my son a hand-stitched little backpack on the bed that said Bub. And it was like, Bub, we hope you have the best time. And I was like, ugh. Not even the fact that, I mean, the hotel smells great and they were so sweet and kind, but that moment, like the fact that you remembered his nickname that I had mentioned, amazing. Right?
That gave me chills.
I know. So it's surprising and delighting is what's important.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And like you said, it doesn't even have to be that big of a deal. It could be like a $50 gift card. It could be like that little teddy bear. It could be something so simple that they'll remember that you like just kind of caught at the end of what they were saying or whatever. And oh my gosh, yeah, that just makes me so excited. After this, I'm going to be like in my emails, in my touch points, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to change everything up. I don't know, that was just like so amazing. And now I'm like thinking like, what can I do? Because you're right. I think people will remember that so much more than just, you know, a wedding guide or an email that they had to prep for. Like everyone sends emails, but doing something else that kind of elevates that is just like 5-star service. So good.
One more. I want to drop in real quick
please.
For people listening who's like, okay, I don't want to spend a lot of money on something. Another one I've seen that's really cool, because every photographer or wedding vendor needs to send like a details form, and they're usually so intense to fill out because there's a lot of info if they don't have a planner. So even sending like a little Starbucks gift card, because that's cheap. I mean, a coffee, I mean, it's expensive nowadays, but $15, right? That is so sweet. Everyone loves coffee or tea or whatever, you know, but maybe you have somewhere local in their area that there's more of a cool coffee shop. But even that, just being like, hey, I know I need you to fill out this really long form, but here's a coffee on me. Go sit down for 30 minutes, enjoy your coffee, and let me know if you have questions. Easy. Super easy. And you can send it digitally on the Starbucks app, so it's even easier.
Yes. And even like if you were to have like that initial phone call and they mention something, or even sometimes I'll like see my couples on their Instagram stories and they're going to like a certain restaurant, they're going here and they love this. That's like a good way too, to be like, okay, they like this restaurant, I'm going to send them that gift card. Or I'm going to, you know, if they do go to Starbucks all the time, I'm going to send them that Starbucks. So just really being intentional and just like looking out for small things like that would also like elevate that step even further than just like a Starbucks gift card, because you kind of know already where they eat, what they like to do, or if they like mention anything with that first initial call, then you'll know kind of like what to give them. So that is a really good point.
And if your volume, automate it, put it in like an intake form and make it about the couple. Like, what's your favorite type of music? Because all that stuff you might use for the engagement session. Like, what's your favorite date night? What's your favorite drink? Boom, you have all that. And now you don't even have to worry about trying to like, oh no, I need to figure out something like personal. Just head to that form that you had in your intake.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, that's so good. I'm just like so excited.
I
I
nerd
know
out
people
over
are,
this stuff. So
no, please, I'm like, we all need to hear this. Like even me, like I feel like I've been just elevating everything. That's the word of the year for me, is elevating everything. And so just trying to figure out like a good system for me. And so I already know people are going to head over to Dubsado right after this and be like, okay, we got to change everything up. Which, speaking of Dubsado, we got to talk about HoneyBook versus Dubsado. No. And I feel like this is such a hot topic. I've had people from HoneyBook be like, I'm never switching, or like they want to switch, but it's too much work. And what would you say to someone who's using HoneyBook, but is thinking about switching to Dubsado, and they're kind of feeling a little overwhelmed by it? Because that's what I get all of the time. Like they're just like so overwhelmed by it. They don't want to do it because they already have like their, you know, their setup in HoneyBook. And so what would you say to someone?
Well, first of all, no system's perfect. So I always have to tell people, if you're moving from HoneyBook or any system, right, you're not going to all of a sudden have this perfect system that has everything you need. So keep that in mind. I think personally, and this isn't just because this is my business, but I love Dubsado. I think there's a lot of benefits, and we can always get into that too, that are better than HoneyBook for the cost and for the customer service that you get. However, there's so many clients I have that I've moved from HoneyBook into Dubsado, which no one has ever been upset with that decision. So I'll just say that. Go ahead and do it. But here's the thing.
Very true.
Yes, I get it. I mean, especially if you have a flow and you have stuff in there and you have a lot of clients in there. The amazing thing about Dubsado that's really unlike any other software is they do not have a time-based trial, meaning it's not one of those, okay, you get a 2 weeks free and then you have to pay for a subscription. You have an unlimited trial until you have more than 3 clients. So you can use Dubsado for free as long as you want to until you have more than 3 clients. So if you are wanting to DIY this, obviously I could say just hire me and I'll handle all of it for you and it'll be fine. Or if you're wanting to just see if it's the right fit and kind of do this slow move, get the Dubsado trial and start moving over the most important pieces that you need to run the business: your contracts, your packages, your proposal. Obviously, you're going to have to do a little bit of, kind of digging around the system, getting used to things, maybe watching some videos. Don't worry about the automation yet. That can come later. And automation is not really the end goal anyways. It's just efficiency and also the level of the system that you're giving your clients. So you don't have to automate right away. So start moving those pieces over. And then once you have the space in your schedule, I always tell, especially my wedding vendors, do it in a slower season when you have the space to carve out. Maybe it's, okay, this week I'm going to carve out 2 hours this day and this day, or an hour a day to tackle one piece of the system, whether that's setting up this or moving over the clients or getting the forms together. That way, it's not such a big, I got to start and do everything. Start with the most important pieces, work your way up. And then when you are ready to take it live, then you can kind of decide, do I want to move over the existing clients or let those people ride out on the HoneyBook until their invoices are over and then really start using Dubsado? Or if you don't have a ton of volume, it's not that difficult to move them over. You just move over their details and plug in their invoice. So you kind of have that decision to make. But the amazing thing is there's no time limit. So you can really take it as slow as you want and get to know the system before you really actually need to pay for it. So you can really be using both at the same time until you're ready for that switch.
Yeah. I think taking it in like blocks of like, okay, let's switch over the contracts. Let's do this, because seeing it all as a whole is very, very overwhelming.
It's too much. Yeah.
It's too much work. And I definitely agree with that. That's kind of like what I had to do, because I started with HoneyBook and then switched to Dubsado as well. And I had to just kind of like slowly gather all my information. And I do love that Dubsado does do that, where you can like set everything up and then you can add the clients and then start paying for it. Because like you said, like a 2-week trial, maybe for some procrastinator, that might be like a good thing for you to like do. But I think having all the time to just add everything in there is so, so good. And that's why I like Dubsado too. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything about Dubsado I love. So I'm a Dubsado supporter for life. I have tried everything. I've tried Sprout Studio. I've tried HoneyBook. I've tried literally everything. There's like, I think Tave, all of those.
I had Tave forever ago. 17 hats. I mean, there's so many.
there's so many, and I always go back to Dubsado, which, by the way, I want to get your thoughts on just kind of like the new version of Dubsado, because I was able to try it out for like a week, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes, I love it. What are your thoughts on it all? I want to know.
I am obsessed. I definitely think it's like a huge interface up level from all of the metrics perspective, the dashboard. What a lot of people probably don't know is that they completely rewrote their backend code in-house. So what that means is for future updates, it's going to be so much easier, so much quicker to implement new features. So they're kind of bringing it out in waves. So the first 3.0 will launch this summer, and that's going to be the new interface. Everything looks different and feels different. I think it's a lot easier to navigate. It's a lot easier to process the information. I will say though, in all honesty, I think people are going to be a little bit, maybe not overwhelmed, but when you really like know something and then it changes and you're like, oh, I have to, even if it's not a huge change, because everything works the same. It's just, it kind of looks different and things are in different places. So I definitely feel like people are going to have a little bit of a week or two where they're just trying to feel out the system and get to know. It's like a new haircut. You're like, how do I style this?
Yes, that is
Same
my
hair,
co-host
but
Miranda. That is my co-host Miranda to a T. When I told her about like the change, she's like, oh, she did not want any change. And I'm like, no, this will be a good thing. I promise.
It will.
And I'm a person that I embrace change. I love the change. I'm like, I don't care if I have to go through a few hiccups to kind of like learn the new interface. But from what I was able to see and trial, it did change, but I felt like everything was pretty similar. So I don't feel like it's like a super big change where it's like, okay, where is everything? Like, I don't know where anything is. It's just like subtle little things.
I think it's like stylistically. And I think that's really, again, setting it up for more things in the future, like more workflow actions and team-based interactions where you can have multiple different calendar integrations and things like that. So it's setting the stage so that way when they do have these really big updates, we're not like, oh my God, I'm shocked because now things are really intense and it's, it's so hard to figure out how to deal with the new interface plus new additions. So they're I think they're doing it really well by redesigning the interface, and that launch will have so many really cool metrics that I'm excited about. Conversion rates, project tracking. I mean, all kinds of things that people have really wanted from a metrics information perspective that I think is going to elevate that insanely. And then all of those additions will come out. But the good thing is, going back to the slow season idea, you don't have to go switch to 3.0 immediately. I think they're going to give everyone like a 6-month period or something where you can go back and forth, just like they did with the form builder a couple of years ago. You could switch back and forth. So that way you're not put into a box where you wake up tomorrow and it's completely different. You can choose. Yeah. So that way you can kind of plan like, okay, when am I not the busiest? And let me, then switch over to 3.0 and like spend a couple hours just navigating everything.
Yeah. And I got an email, I think today. I don't even remember. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, but they're like integrating something to
the AI.
Did you get that? Yes. I didn't know if you knew anything about that yet, but I got the email and I just kind of skimmed read it and I was like, oh, this is very interesting. Okay, Dubsado. I've been getting so many emails from them, so I'm excited for all the change.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to see what they integrate.
I don't know what that's going to look like. They haven't really shared too much with us because the cool thing about being a specialist, we get usually previews and conversations of things coming out. So what I'm wondering is, I don't know if you use Zapier at all, but in Zapier, you can tell the AI assistant what you want the outcome to look like, and it gives you like all the recommendations. So I'm like, that would actually be really dope if they did. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that'd be really cool if they could do that with workflows. It might make my job a little more
helper.
Yeah, like a helper, but I mean, there's nothing like a personal touch.
People still don't want to do a lot of things, so you're still going to have to do a job. So you're good on that end, because I know some people like me. I'm like, I'd rather pay someone just to do it for me than have to like spend all day trying to like figure out what's what. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Talking to AI and then me not even understanding what they're saying. So that'll be cool. I'm excited to see like everything Dubsado's doing this year. I'm just like, yes. I love it all. I'm excited to see the new interface and everything that they do with the AI stuff and everything, because I'm pretty sure HoneyBook has AI right now integrated with it too.
Yeah,
I don't know
that was
much
part
about
of that
HoneyBook,
big hoopla that happened in Christmas. Did you remember that? Where they raised their prices unexpectedly. Yeah.
Yes, I remember the raised prices, but I didn't know what that was like. I didn't know if it was like AI integration or why they were raising their prices or anything like that. I just know a lot of people were like
pissed. People are
excuse
pissed.
me.
Yeah, I had a lot of people that are moving over to Dubsado now, and the shitty thing about it, and again, not to talk crap about softwares. I mean, they've served a lot of people. They're another really great software.
I thought they were amazing when I started. So
yes, the only thing that was like to me shady was, they had a really big Black Friday sale. A lot of people upped their subscription to a year, like went for the yearly plan, and then like 3 weeks after, they're like, "Oh, we're going to raise the prices by 50% come February." I'd be like, excuse me? Like, I just committed to a whole year and you're raising the prices, but not implementing a ton of new features. There were a lot of features people didn't really care about. Like, oh, we're going to have this AI thing and we're going to have this feature that's like, why would I pay for this extra thing that I didn't want to pay for? Make it optional, make it an upgrade. And definitely don't do it after you just got a bunch of people to join during Black Friday and then you just drop this. So that was, to me, that's one thing about Dubsado. Yes, it's a great software, but they are such an amazing support, customer service-based business.
Yes.
And woman owned. I mean, I don't know if HoneyBook's woman owned, but like Becca, she's in the business. She's part of the business. She's on socials. I just feel like that level you can't, and I hope they can maintain that as they grow. HoneyBook doesn't have that. Most of those CRMs don't have that. So
yes, something I do love about Dubsado is that they're always sending emails and they're always kind of like updating us on where they're at. And they have that like thing on their website where you can request things to be added to Dubsado, and they almost like have a timeline of
their
like
roadmap.
Their roadmap is so good. And I'm sure not a lot of people really care about it, but I'm one of those people. I'm like, yes, I want change. I want to know what's coming up. I want to be a part of it. And so I love that they do that and kind of like bring people into what they're implementing and why they're changing things and all of that stuff. So they do have a really good customer service and just like updating us on everything. It's so good. I'm always like, Becca from Dubsado, open.
Yes,
open
exactly. I love her.
Thank you, Becca. Oh my gosh. But so moving on to just kind of like business and mindset, because I love learning about people in that way. What is one thing that you've had to unlearn as your business has grown?
Perfectionism. I am a perfectionist by nature. Like since I was a kid, room had to be perfect, appearance, everything, people pleaser. Like I want people to see me in a certain way. And motherhood wrecks that, first of all, just saying like nothing is perfect after you have children in your body or your environment. So, but from a business perspective, I had to realize a lot of the times when we think something needs to be perfect, we're just stalling the movement, we're stalling the progress. Not that you don't want things to be correct or that you want them to be in place, but a lot of the time, people that I come into contact with or speak with or coach, they're being held back because their fear that something isn't perfect rather than just doing the thing, putting it out there, going for it, announcing it, making it live and refining as you go. That is something that I think has really served me in the last couple of years because I'm able to take action quicker because I'm not just obsessing over the details that most people probably either don't care about, don't even see, or it's completely self-perceived of what perfection is. So now I am very much like, a little bit more scrappy, a little bit more like, let me just go for it. And if I need to work on it as I go, great. If I need to refine it, great. If it's a flop, lesson learned. But I struggled with that a lot when I first started. And I know a lot of other people do too.
Oh my gosh, I know, which is hard to believe because I feel like you didn't have a website when you first started, but you were just like, I'm going to get on Facebook and just do this thing. So it's hard to believe that you were even like that.
Why I didn't even do it because I was like, oh my God, what do I put on the website? What's it going to say? How's it going to look? Yep. So I just stalled that, which I mean, it worked out in the end, but I mean, maybe I would have, grown quicker or what have you. I mean, the story worked out how it did, but yeah, I just thought too much into the what ifs and how is it going to look and what are people going to think? And it's like, just do it. Just put it out there.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. I never thought I was a perfectionist until like the last few years where it has been almost like I'm using it as a crutch to not do the things that I want to do because like I always like I'm not a perfectionist, like I don't really care like if this is kind of off or the graphic doesn't look good or whatever, but I was not doing things because I was like, well, I need this and I need this and I need this before I can do the thing. And so then I was like, oh, wait, maybe I am a perfectionist and I didn't even know it.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse because you care about the details, which I'm sure in your photography has served you so well because you care about the details. But then it's also like from a business side of things, you have to let some of that go, especially when you start outsourcing or hiring. You just have to like learn how to not obsess over the tiny things that aren't actually making a huge difference in moving the needle. Focus on the things that actually are making the difference and obsess over that thing. And then again, I'm a huge believer of just refining it as you go.
Yeah, I have definitely learned that that is the way to go. Just start it and then refine as you go, because it's almost easier just to refine it as you go than having like spending all of this time thinking and like doubting yourself as like, is this perfect? Is this not? Well, you're never going to know because people aren't going to see it.
Exactly. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, you're going to spend all this time obsessing, then you're going to launch it and it's going to need to change anyways. Because either it's going to shift or you realize things, or then you actually test the thing or put it out there and you get feedback. So, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it with podcasting, right? Because I know I did.
Yes.
That is like the biggest, let me just fucking do it. And then, wow, I'm going to change every single thing every time.
Yes.
Because it's such a learning curve. And like,
you find a new system, whether it's like the camera or the settings or I'm always learning. And I'm just like, we did it in basically like 2 weeks. And I was just like, let's just do this thing. Like, let's get it on the ground. We don't have a studio or anything, but we're going to make one. We're just going to like put things together and hope that it works. And I'm sure it's going to change. Oh,
it looks so good. I'm obsessed.
Thank you. I do love the details. So I am like, we had to have something, but of course it's not like a call her daddy studio or like, something
right?
like that, which I'm so jealous of. I love her studio so much. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I need in my life. But okay, so how do you balance being a creative and being strategic in your business? Because I feel like that's how a lot of creatives are. They're like, admin, like, I do not want anything to do with the strategic part of business. But if you're in business and you want to be a creative, you kind of have to do both.
Yeah, I think it's really different for everyone in figuring out what things they can hand off and what things they love to do or what they don't like to do. I mean, obviously there's things you're just going to have to do in business. I feel lucky in that I'm very strategic and logic, but I'm also really creative and I enjoy being creative. Like I make my own website. I do my own graphics. I feel like I get to really tap into the creativity that I've built through my life and through art school and photography in the business. So for me, it's actually more of a balance of, I don't know if everyone else experiences this, but like, I need to not spend so much time doing the creative stuff because I've got like all these emails I need to write and all this other shit I need to do.
Yes.
But also again, the handoff of like, okay, what things can if your zone of genius is the creativity, what things can you automate? What can you delegate? What can you kind of prioritize to where you still get to flex the creative muscle? But then in that same idea, it's like, some of those creative things you might be able to also hand off. If it's eating up so much time of yours, like for example, maybe you are really creative, but you're sitting here trying to do your own website and it's taking you months and months to do it. It's time to start thinking about, is the return of the time really worth it? If not, like let's outsource it. Let's find someone else to do it. Let's get a template. Okay.
This. Yes.
So it's all about
templates
balance.
are my everything because I'm also the same way. I don't want to start from the ground up, but if I have a template, if I have something, I can do that. I can do that because I do like the creativity behind the website and like making graphics and doing all that stuff.
Because your background was graphic design, right?
Yeah. Graphic design. I dropped out of school, but
Same.
I went to, I was doing art school and I was doing advertising as a double major. So I love doing that stuff and I love being strategic with all of the things. But yeah, there are some things that I just don't want to do, like admin. Like that's just not something that I love to do. And I think that's how a lot of people like burn out too, is that they're doing every single little thing and they don't like doing it. And so then they're like, well, what's the point? Like I can't even be creative in my creative business. And I think that is one reason, is because they're not delegating or they're not automating. And so they're having to like take up so much brain space or like a mental load. Their mental load is a lot because they're not automating. They don't have systems. So their brain is just kind of like scattered and everywhere, and they're having to remember like a million things for a million clients. And so that's just not the way
and
to
starting
do things.
from scratch every time. You know, it's like photographers have presets. So why are you starting from scratch every time you're trying to make an Instagram carousel? Like have some templates in place, have some like base in place where you, whether it's, you know, creation for that, whether it's your editing flow, whatever it might be, even podcasting, like have a base so that way you're not having to start from scratch every time and have that mental load.
Yeah. And so speaking of mental load, what is one tool, ritual, or like mindset shift that's helped you stay grounded in your business?
Oh, I love talking about this. Definitely fitness and movement. It is a non-negotiable in my life, but also as a leader, as a creative, as someone who wants to lead other people and, you know, shares energy with people daily in their business, whether it's with podcasting or coaching or just even online, right? Like answering DMs and like sharing energy. I have to move my body, and it's looked different over the years, whether it's lifting or running. Now I'm doing jujitsu. I think that having something outside of your business that is requiring you to move, and it could be anything, dance, yoga, I don't care what it is. Even just going for a walk, I've started implementing you know, just 10-minute walks in the morning, midday, and then like after my workday when I go get my kids. I don't always get to it, but I try to do it at least every day. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like answering emails on the call, or I'm like, on the walk, or I might be like, you know, just doing some things I need to think through. But getting grounded out of the office, fresh air, sunlight, like it sounds so simple, but for people who are at their desk all day, or even for wedding vendors who expend a lot of energy on the weekends or with their clients in person, you can't just, you know, get into these work holes where you're stuck to your screen, and that's going to just create not good space for your nervous system. So I really think that having some kind of regular fitness, movement, activity in your schedule, even if it's a walking pad, and you're like, okay, in the morning, I'm going to walk on my walking pad for 30 minutes while I listen to a podcast. That's movement. You're doing something. So that's a huge non-negotiable for me. And if I don't, I am very grumpy. And my family's like, can you do something?
Yeah, I know. Well, you always have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. They always say this, and it's true even if in service-based businesses, just because you are having to take on a lot with people and, you know, just talking to people and, like you said, answering DMs and doing all of this stuff. You're giving so much energy away. So you just kind of have to like ground yourself in yourself and not stay at your computer desk all day.
Yeah. And I think the mindset with it too is that it's not selfish. I think especially for moms, we very easily put that guilt on us. Like, I've been working all day and I've got all these things to do around the house. I need to, and I mean, even if you're not a mom, but especially if you have kids, because now you have other people to give your energy to. Like yeah. And so then I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, I feel so bad that I have to go and I need to go to the gym, or I need to go on a walk, or I need to tell them, hold on, not right now, I need to do this. Or even with your clients, like, oh, I'm not going to take this call because I want to go exercise. That is not selfish. So whatever idea you have in your mind, get that out of there, because that is taking care of yourself is so fucking important. And not even in business, but if you want to have healthy relationships, you know, a long life. I mean, if you want to be able to show up for anyone in your life, you need to be taking care of yourself, and that is not a selfish thing. So I really believe if you have to carve out the time and put it on the schedule, put it on the schedule. I definitely have to do that now. I have to like literally time block it, or else I'll book a meeting during that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's something that I've been getting into this year is calendar blocking and just making sure that I'm doing exactly what I'm doing that day. Just because, like you said, if I don't do that, it's not on my schedule, I kind of just like, oh, well, what do I do today? Or like, yeah, it's not a priority. And so you really do have to prioritize your mental health, and even, yeah, like you said, your physical health is so important. People need to talk about that more. And I guess they do, but just especially as a creative and someone that like, a lot of us don't have like coworkers or just like an office space to go into and just kind of like do all the things that other people do. You definitely do have to prioritize that. But all right, so kind of wrapping up, I want to get into your Dubsado Pro Academy. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. What is it and who is it for?
Yeah. So I created Dubsado Pro Academy, I think it was about 3 years ago now. And it started because I saw a need in the space for people who wanted to offer Dubsado as a service, but didn't understand or didn't have the confidence to know how to sell Dubsado, how to package it, how to even get yourself into the market. And there's a lot of information out there about Dubsado. Anyone could go learn the system, but there's not a whole lot about people who want to start a business with Dubsado as an offer, or even for people who maybe they are a VA or they're an agency owner, or even a photographer who all of a sudden is like, I'm actually really fucking good at systems. And all my photographer friends are asking me about systems. This could be a side hustle, right? You can have a signature service just for Dubsado. And so I basically created a live group coaching program where I've taken not only everything I know about Dubsado from the perspective of all the hundreds of businesses I've worked with in there, but also my experience of, how I build the framework for workflows, how I interact with clients, how I price, how I insert myself in the market, all of my business acumen, if you will. And I put it into one live group coaching program. I know for me, like self-paced, it's not good because I need accountability. I need people. I need interaction. So I built this program to be very much like school, and not bad school, but in the sense of we have 7 live training calls, which they cover everything from the system itself. So even if you don't really know that much about Dubsado, I take care of that, all the way through selling, through pricing, through confidence, through the mindset, through your actual framework for your clients. So how are you actually going to implement your Dubsado setup from first contact through offboarding? And I also give them all the tools. So like they get templates, they get done for you stuff. And we are opening enrollment May 6th. I only take on 10 students at a time. And I haven't had a cohort since I got married last year. I took a break from the program because it's very, I wouldn't say taxing, it's very enjoyable, but it is 8 weeks with me live. I mean, and we have calls almost every week. So it is very much, I put a lot of my time and energy into each individual who joins. So 10 people, again, cart opens in May. And this is really for, like I said, anyone who, especially a VA, OBM, if you're already offering some kind of system setup, especially like I was, where it was packaged into my virtual assistants, like, oh, I'll just charge you hourly. Let's turn that into a premium service. Or again, the creative who really enjoys systems and they want to create extra income through something they enjoy like Dubsado, this would be for them too.
Yeah. And is there anything that makes this round different or exciting, or is there anything changing from this round than it was the last round?
So nothing crazy different. It worked. The process is really high touch and it's worked so well. The biggest thing would be that I haven't done one in a couple of years. So I have a pretty good audience who's excited about it. So I think the biggest difference is that, I really think the spots are going to go quickly since it is only 10. And I'm not one of those people that's like, I only have 10 spots, but then I open up 15 because it's high touch. So this is very much, it's group, it's coaching, it's learning.
Intimate.
And I'm getting intimate. I'm handing you the keys to everything I've learned in the business for you to implement it, but I'm helping you personalize it for you. So that's really special. There will be a bonus going on. So I think you said this will be out first week of May, but there's a bonus for those who join early, and then we'll be kicking off. One cool thing about it, though, that I think is different than any kind of other self-paced or even just like Google University, in the program, we do a complete mock setup. So you would actually create an entire account as if you're setting it up for a client, and you get to pick these pre-created brands that I make in different industries. And you set up the entire Dubsado, like the workflows, the forms, everything. And then I privately critique your work. So you're getting not only all the information, then you're actually putting it into place, and then you're getting feedback to see what you did right, what you did wrong, how you can improve.
Amazing.
So that's really fun.
I love stuff like that. As someone that like, I love a course. Don't get me wrong. I love a course, but like something about like doing it step by step and then having someone else kind of like check your work is just so good. That's like how you learn from your mistakes, and you don't have to make them with like clients.
Exactly. And that's why I say it's kind of like school, because that is essentially the assignment, is the
yes,
portfolio.
Your homework.
It is your homework, and it's timed. So there's only 10 days that you get to implement, and it needs to be turned in order to get the feedback. So
love that.
It keeps you accountable. It keeps you on a schedule, and it's also factored into the course at the right point. So we go through all of the Dubsado backend stuff and then the client side, and then you have your critique, and then we go into selling and packages and like positioning and all of that. So it feels like it's in the right place, and my students really enjoy it. So I'm excited to be able to do that.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love to hear that. Well, is there anything that's next for you this year? Like, are you doing anything else this year? Anything else exciting happening in your world?
Yes, actually a couple things. So one, I will be speaking at a conference in June in Denver, Colorado. It's actually for wedding vendors. So anyone listening, I'll actually send you the link for all the info and the tickets. It's called Wedding Pro CEO Summit. So I'm very excited. I'll be speaking on the main stage, which is my first ever main stage like
Taylor,
keynote speaking.
Wait, that's so exciting.
I'm very nervous.
Wait, like oh my gosh, I'm sure. I can't even imagine. I'm like, this interview is making me nervous, and I know you, so I can't even imagine like having to speak to people, but you are so good. Like, you know your stuff, so I can't imagine it going badly for you. You're just like amazing and know so much stuff. Are you speaking on Dubsado or like systems? What are you speaking on?
Yeah. So main stage, I'll be speaking a little bit more pulled back in the mindset. So the title is The Hustle's Not Cute Anymore. So we're talking about delegating, about automating, about overworking. Yes. And then I'll actually be also leading a breakout session, which is a 75-minute. And in that session, which the attendees can choose kind of which sessions they want to go to, that one will be hands-on Dubsado client experience. So that'll be really fun. I also have office hours there, so people can also just sign up to sit with me one-on-one. So anyone listening who's a wedding vendor, especially photographers, like this would be a really cool place to come, not just because I'm going to be there, but there's some amazing industry leaders. It's at this gorgeous 5-star hotel.
Oh my
Colorado, of course. I mean, it's going to be, it's like 4 days.
And you said in June?
June 2nd through the 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say Colorado is amazing during that time of year.
I know,
it's
I love
so nice. For someone that doesn't like the cold and like the snow or anything, like those are the months I love to go to Colorado. It is so pretty. Okay. Well, that's amazing. I'm so excited to see all the stuff about that. I haven't been to like a summit or workshop in a really long time. So I'm like, maybe I should go.
Girl, come. That'd be so much fun because we get to hang out.
Yeah. No, that would be really cool. And Colorado isn't too far from me. But all right. Well, where can people find you, connect with you, and just kind of like learn more about you? Because you have so many offers and so many amazing things that you offer. So please let us know it all.
Yeah. So anything related to Dubsado systems, the stuff we were chatting about today, Chanel and Lee, obviously you'll have everything linked in the description, but socials and website. So that's all that. Also consulting. I do business consulting and coaching. Right now you can find it under Chanel and Lee, but I'll be creating a new space for that this summer under Taylor Hedden. So I'll send you that link too, which is more of my personal brand.
Please.
And I also just launched a photo booth company. Well, we launch next week. So by the time this comes out, it'll be live.
I'm like, wait, what?
Yes.
I didn't hear about this.
So it's called 713 Photo Booth. Obviously we're in Houston. So if you are a Houston-based vendor, planner, what have you, come check us out. So I'll give you that info too.
Well, yes. And what kind of photo booth is it? I'm like excited. I'm like, yes, please.
It's a selfie booth. So we're going to be doing brand activations, weddings, private parties.
Love it. Oh my gosh. You are such a businesswoman. I love women in business.
Know.
Please. I'm like, I could talk to you all day about this stuff. Oh my gosh. Well,
my husband's joining me on that one. So that'll be exciting. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting for us to work together in that way. So
yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. I cannot even imagine having to work with my partner. I don't know how well that would work, but maybe one day. But no, that conversation was so good. You have such a way of breaking things down and just like, I don't know, with so much clarity and ease. That's why I think that summit is going to be like so good for you. Like you're not even going to have a struggle with it. And I hope that the listeners are going to be walking away just feeling empowered to like take a deeper look at their back end and just like their experience. So I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. And if you loved what Taylor shared, make sure to check out the Dubsado Pro Academy and her Instagram. She always has like amazing offers for everyone. And you'll find all the links in the show notes. And until next time, bye.
Thank you.